Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Today's conversation with Amanda Goldman-Petri is a highly energetic deep dive into sales funnels, paid traffic, and other fun with marketing. Amanda runs Market Like a Nerd, the nerdiest marketing firm on the planet. They specialize in helping entrepreneurs scale their income. This super fun conversation is a next level marketing discussion for the coach who's ready to understand the benefits of investing in some sales and marketing tools, including paid Facebook ads. Amanda breaks down why paid traffic can be so much more effective than what she calls prayer traffic, the stuff that trickles in for free and can sometimes feel like it takes forever to convert into income. We'd love to have you screenshot your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. And by the way, the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes of Health Coach Radio can always be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. Our show is proudly brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute, now an accredited educational provider with the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches. This means that our graduates can become eligible to sit for the NBHWC credentialing exam to become a board-certified health and wellness coach. We'll be talking more about this in future episodes, but for now, head to primalhealthcoach.com/level2 to learn about our new advanced coaching mastery course, which helps shore up the educational requirements for board eligibility. Without further delay, buckle up for an incredibly boisterous and educational conversation with the incredibly energetic Amanda Goldman-Petri.
All right, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, we're so excited to pick your brain. You have no idea the number of questions we get every single day about how am I going to find clients? How do I market myself? How do I use Facebook? Do I need to be on Facebook? What about Instagram? What is this digital marketing thing? So super excited. So we like to start every interview with you telling your story and about where you came from and how you got here.
Of course. Happy to share. So my story is basically that I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, as the locals call it Bloody More Murderland. And as you can imagine, growing up in a place like that, it was not the best environment for a child. I grew up in an abusive home. So my biological father was a drug addict. My stepfather was verbally and physically abusive to me, my mom, and my older brother. And I never really wanted to be at home because of that. And so something good did come out of that, which is that I buried my head in books and dedicated myself to being a great student, because I thought that if I just work hard, I can get a scholarship. You know, my family was poor. They're not going to pay for me to go to college. But if I work really hard, I can get a scholarship. I can go to a good school, and then I can become a doctor or a lawyer. Because as a child, like those are the positions, the career paths that will get you out of poverty and out of situations like that. Mm-hmm. So I did. I was designated as valedictorian of my elementary, middle, and high school. I got a full ride scholarship to Johns Hopkins University. And when I went to Johns Hopkins, originally I studied neuroscience, and then I went into cellular molecular biology and then natural sciences, which for all of you health people, I'm sure you know, those are just decreasing levels of difficulty in sciences. It is very challenging at Johns Hopkins. And then eventually I graduated with 3 degrees that had nothing to do with science.
Wow.
One in Chinese, one in Russian, one in writing seminars. And with those 3, yeah, I know, it's just very different direction. With those 3 degrees and 7 different honors in hand, I went off into grad school, still completely unsure of what I wanted to do with my life. You know, it was just a bunch of soul searching, because while I was at Johns Hopkins, the summer before I entered Johns Hopkins, I was actually hit by a minivan while I was walking across the street. Yeah, and I almost died.
Oh my God.
The driver, he was 80 something years old, and he didn't even see me. He didn't notice that he hit me until I was on the top of his van. And that's when he finally hit the brakes, and my body flew into the intersection. My head was about a foot away from being crushed by a passing 18-wheeler. So I almost died. It was very, very traumatic. I had to learn how to walk again. So those whole 4 years while I was at Johns Hopkins, I was learning how to walk again. I ended up being taken off of my birth control because they were, I had blood thinners, and they were worried about clotting. And so I ended up getting pregnant. And here I am at Johns Hopkins studying medicine, and eventually getting 3 degrees, learning how to walk, raising my first child, having to help my mom so that she could finally leave this abusive relationship. It was a ringer. It was insane. And it put me into a state of mind where I was questioning everything. I was questioning, do I want to be a doctor? Do I want to be a lawyer? What do I want to do with my life? Next time when I'm faced with death, I want to make sure that I'm happy with the life that I left behind. So am I really happy right now? And for me, the answer was no. So that's why I went through this soul searching journey to try to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't neuroscience. It wasn't cellular molecular biology. It wasn't natural sciences. And even though I got degrees in it, it wasn't Chinese, Russian, or writing either. So by the time I got to grad school, I was really conflicted and just kind of applying to all sorts of jobs. I got a job as a social media marketing intern. Oh my God, and finally.
Wow.
Finally, I figured out what set my soul on fire. I love marketing.
Wow.
So I started my first business at the ripe age of 21. And my first business was not too hot. I learned a lot, but definitely lost some money. And then my second business, that's when things started to take off. I hit my first $10,000 month in 4 months when I was 22. And then my next business, $150K in 4 months at 23, then $120K, then $562K. Then we hit 7 figures. It, just all kept growing from there.
Unbelievable. I'm like tired now just listening to that story.
Just imagine living through it.
Yeah. And the big thing that stands out to me through all of this, what's screaming to me is just resiliency. Right. And we talk about this all the time as entrepreneurs. Like, one of the common threads through successful entrepreneurs is this sense of resiliency that, everybody gets knocked down. Boy, did you get knocked down, like literally almost dead knocked down, but got back up. And I got the chills. I just love that whole story.
Thank you. Actually, I got a tattoo on my foot with my business partner, Jody, that says warrior on it. Because she has a very similar story. She didn't grow up in a traumatic family, but the circumstances that she ended up in, that's her story to tell. You can have her on your podcast another time. But we had very similar stories and had to go through so much trauma to get to where we are today and really turn our lives around. So we went into a tattoo parlor together and got this beautiful warrior tattoo on our feet.
I love it. So I have a question, because I totally get I want to get the hell out of here. And so if I just study and work really hard and I can get a scholarship and I can go to school and I can get the heck out of here and lift up my mom. I love that. And I can relate to that a lot. I think mine wasn't an abusive family. Mine was an abusive marriage. Okay. And just so I totally get that. And then this sort of path to medicine as this is what makes people money, right? The ... But your business now and where you found success, completely unrelated. So I'm very curious about what is it about marketing that lit you up, that thought, this is what I was called to do. This is what I love, because so many other people coming to this, like, that's the last thing they want to learn. Like, they'd rather pay somebody else to do it. And I don't know if it's because they just legitimately don't like it, or they just don't know how to do it. So what was it about marketing that just really lit you up and said, this is what I was meant to do?
So if you look at the paths that I studied at Johns Hopkins, there are two very different paths. One is, as people would typically say, very left brain, and the other is very right brained. Sciences, and then languages and writing. I am the type of person, I love to be analytical. I love to get my hands on some data and to be able to read those numbers and figure out what they're telling me. But I'm also the type of person who loves to be creative. One of my hobbies is painting and writing poetry. And so marketing has this beautiful cohesion of the two. You have to be creative in your marketing to stand out. You have to write really well. I mean, copy is in everything. You can't have a sales funnel without copy. You can't have a website without copy. You can't have ads without copy. You have to be able to write. And if you're writing just like everyone else, you're not going to stand out in people's news feeds. So actually, the more creative you can be with your copy and with your ads, the better off you're going to be. And then on the flip side, it's not enough to be creative. You have to look at the data to figure out what is working, what's not working, what's resonating, what's completely turning people off, what's converting. And that cohesion is extremely fun. I think that a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs would enjoy it a lot more if they looked at it in that way. That you get to have fun with your marketing. You don't have to be like everybody else. You don't have to say the same things that everyone else is saying. You don't have to model and funnel hack in order to be successful in your marketing. In fact, the more fun you have with it, the more you tend to stand out.
So let's go to this analytical side, because I hear this a lot. We hear this from other marketers. You've got to know the numbers. You have to know what's converting. You have to know kind of the cost of your marketing, and you have to be able to kind of follow the data. So, but if you contrast that with typically the type of person that's drawn to health coaching, those two things don't always go hand in hand, right? But here's the thing. That's not to say it can't, right? I think this is, again, where people get into some negative self-talk. Mm-hmm. That this is not my wheelhouse. I am the sort of caring, loving, that side of my brain. That's where my strengths lie. It's not necessarily in the data and the analytics, and I'm kind of afraid to sort of go down that road. Mm-hmm. But like you, I mean, I came from finance, even though I never really thought that was my shtick at all. Interestingly, right? But I agree with you that when you use data and analytics as a way to be able to understand and a way to be able to help you tell a story, you can kind of switch which part of your brain and kind of leverage your own strengths there, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about how someone who might not be or understand the data and the importance of it and what it really means, and how someone who comes from a sort of a different side of the street can leverage that and get good at it.
Yeah, well, so the first thing is I would challenge that a little bit, because there are plenty of health coaches that do look at data. They just might not even realize that's what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've worked with many fitness trainers, many health coaches, and obviously everyone has their own approach. Some of the ones that I've had the most success with are ones that actually started me tracking what I'm eating, tracking my calories, tracking my macros, and tracking my measurements, and then seeing what happens based on the workout routine that they put me in, the different macros that they assign me. How does my body react to that? And that's exactly what you're doing in marketing. you're just tracking what the numbers are and then taking an action and seeing how that action impacts those numbers. So the same thing that you're doing with your clients, it's exactly what you're going to end up doing in your marketing. So that's the first thing is I'll challenge that. You guys are completely, fully capable of doing this. It's actually not that hard. It's just that most people are, like you said, they're too scared or they just don't know where to start. And so what we do is we actually will use pre-created funnel sales calculators that we've designed that already have common conversion metrics, click-through rates, those types of things put into a calculator. And then all we have to do is put in what our ad spend is going to be, how much money we want to make, and it'll pop out for us what the numbers are that we should be hitting in this funnel, so that once we're sending ads, we can see how our ads lining up to those numbers that the calculator gave us. So that is one option, is if you don't know how to figure out what numbers to look at in your marketing, just use a pre-created calculator. We have one. It's only $27. Like you don't need to go and make one on your own if you don't know what you're doing. But a lot of those numbers already exist. A lot of times you can even go search online. What is a sales page supposed to convert at? What is an opt-in page supposed to convert at? What is a good cost per 1,000 impression? What is a good click-through rate? You could literally just search in Google and it'll tell you if your numbers are good or not.
You know, here's something too, because I think that actual rate, conversion rate, is a lot, what's a successful conversion rate is, I think, a lot lower than people really anticipate when they see just how many people versus click. You know, the actual conversion, could you speak to that a little bit about like setting expectations there?
You're absolutely right. Actually, this will happen a lot of times where people will send traffic to their offers and they won't get a ton of purchases. And when I go and look at the data, I'll say, oh, well, actually, these are pretty standard stats. The problem is you have a minuscule mailing list and almost no traffic is going, there's not enough traffic going to it in order for it to really make a dent. You know, that'll happen to a lot of people, especially since when you're using something like a mailing list to send traffic, you have to deal with open rates and you have to deal with click-through rates. Whereas with ads, you know, if you're sending paid ads to your offers, you have your control over the dial of that traffic. You can send as much or as little as you want. And similarly, when it comes to ads, people spend, you know, $100, $150 in ads, be like, oh, it didn't work. I'll look at the data and I'll say, no, this is not that bad. It's just that you only spent $100, $150. You didn't get enough traffic for the numbers to make sense. Right. So really, when you're sending traffic from ads into a free gift, you're gonna see anywhere from 25% is the industry average. That's considered the minimum threshold of what's acceptable for conversion. So 25% of the people who see that free gift are going to actually give you their name and email address. Personally, I like more like 50, 70%. When you're sending traffic from ads directly into a paid offer, which is very common in the health and fitness industry, extremely common. Actually, I much prefer that route in the health and fitness industry because it's just a much faster way to get a purchase, and the numbers do work out. You know, you only end up paying anywhere from $11 to $75 max cost per purchase. So if you have, you know, $37 offer and some order bumps and upsells, you're going to make a good amount of money off of every purchase that you get. You're going to have a good profit margin. You won't even have to do a free gift. You're building an entire list of just buyers. But if you do something like that, you're going to see more like 2 to 8%.
Yeah.
Much lower. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's, I think, what a lot of new coaches what they get hung up on is the expense of marketing. And, I don't have that kind of budget to handle paid ads. So I guess my question is twofold. What can coaches do to build the budget, right? What can they do that costs less right now to just get eyeballs, right? And then at what point do ads make sense? And how can you, so at what point do ads make sense, and what should they be looking for as far as building up that budget, right? And knowing when it's okay to spend more, and, what do these metrics look like?
Absolutely. So ads do not make sense until you have a sales funnel, an actual sales funnel built with best practices on a real sales funnel platform like ClickFunnels. And I emphasize it so because a lot of people will come to us and say, I have a sales funnel, I'm ready to set ads. And then I look at it and it's really just an interior page on their website that they built on WordPress. And there's menus at the top and there's footer menus at the bottom and there's multiple calls to actions, and it's just not at all following best practices. If you send ads to something like that, or if you send ads directly to your website, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because it's not going to convert, and you're just going to be wasting money. You're going to be wasting ad spend. So get a real sales funnel in place first, using a real sales funnel platform like ClickFunnels, following best practices. My favorite funnel for health and fitness coaches is actually a challenge funnel. There's so many ways that you can create a challenge funnel around health and fitness. We've got one client who has the 28-day pregnancy challenge, and she niches way down into just working with pregnant women. And you would think, oh, well, they're only pregnant for 9 months. Is that going to work with ads? Absolutely. It works so well with ads because you are so niche. The more niched you are with ads, the lower your cost per 1,000 impressions are going to be, and the higher your click-through rates are going to be. So it's going to feed down into your later stats to give you better cost per purchase and overall just better margins. So that's just another little side tip. I do recommend niching as you get into sales funnels and paid traffic. Obviously, you can get away with more generic, broad messaging when you're doing non-paid traffic. Actually, the alternative is doing collaborative list builds, like giveaways and telesummits with other health and fitness coaches, and collaborating to build your lists together. And that's really hard to do when you're super niche, because imagine this client, the 28-day pregnancy challenge fitness coach, trying to go and find a bunch of other health and fitness coaches who have lists of pregnant women. It's going to be a very small market, so there's not going to be a ton of collaborators. So you can get away with being less niched before paid ads, but once you get into paid ads, it really helps you to start specializing. And so when you specialize, create that challenge around that specialized niche. A really great funnel is just go straight from the ads into a sales page to sell that paid offer for $27, $37, $47. You'll actually have a 2-step order form. So first they have to give their name and email address. Then the next step of the order forms where you actually get the credit card. That way, if anyone doesn't order, you still have their name and email. You can do an abandoned cart sequence to kind of recover some of those sales. And on that second step of the order form where you are getting their credit card information, you have little add-ons, kind of like when you're in a grocery store, right? And you put all these things into your cart, and then you're going through the register and you add gum or drinks or chips or something like that. That's kind of what it is, but on a virtual platform. So you're putting in your credit card. Okay, now you can add on what's called order bumps. So a lot of people know about order bumps, but they don't know this, which is that you can actually add multiple order bumps. And I highly recommend adding 2 order bumps. And then don't just send people to a thank you page after that. They're waiting to see that thank you page, right? They want to know that their order went through. So you have their attention. Send them another offer. We actually looked at the data. 20 to even up to 70% of those initial buyers are going to buy both of those order bumps. Mm-hmm. And then 20 to 30% of those initial buyers are going to buy up to 3 upsells afterwards as well. So if you don't have that initial offer, order bump 1, order bump 2, upsell number 1, upsell number 2, upsell number 3. So 6 offers in your funnel, you're actually leaving a lot of money on the table, because there's a really good percentage of people who will just keep buying and keep buying and keep buying and keep buying. And a lot of people will come and they'll have sales funnels and it'll have one offer in it. And I'll say, sure, we could test and tweak the ads to get them to a profit margin, but it'll be a lot easier if you just add more offers so that you can increase that average order value and therefore allow for more with your ads, be able to afford more of a cost per purchase with those ads, and still give yourself a higher profit margin. So get that in place first, then you're ready for ads. Does that answer your first question?
It's huge. I would love a little bit of definition around, I know you just kind of ran us through it, but
Sure.
I bet you a lot of people listening don't even know what a sales funnel is.
Right.
And then I think, as you took us through that, it's like you get the order bump, the upsell, and what are the differences? And so if we run through the example you gave, like the $37 challenge, that goes in the credit card, like what kinds of things would be order bumps? What kinds of things would be upsells? What does that look like? Just, give us an example or a definition, or help us like wrap our arms around what that is.
That's a great question, actually, because it does also segue into a really important point about another way that you can increase your average order value and the overall lifetime customer value in order to allow more for ads, which will speak to that point that Laura was making earlier about how sometimes people are scared of spending money on ads and they have to have money for the budget. I mean, in reality, if you're making money from the ads, you should be able to keep spending money in the ads, right? If they're working, then it's okay. That's the problem, is most people don't know what they're doing. They don't have these things set up. So they don't want to spend money on them. That makes sense. I wouldn't want to spend money on ads if I didn't know how to do them if they weren't working. So in terms of what goes in the funnel, like I said, my favorite thing for the first step is a challenge. It works really, really well in the health and fitness industry. Some type of 7-day, 14-day, 21-day, 28-day, 30-day max. With this type of thing, people are wanting quick results. And that's the thing with health and fitness. There are 2 kind of results that people want. They want results right now because they're feeling the pain of it. Their body doesn't feel good. They don't feel confident in their body. They just want the change immediately. And that's great. We want to give them that. But in reality, health and fitness is a lifetime journey. This is something that you can't just do overnight and then let go and then stop doing it and you'll be fine for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. You have to upkeep and maintain these health and fitness rituals and routines and make it a lifestyle. You don't, this is why so many health and fitness coaches say diets don't work. And I don't call the way that I eat a diet. I call it a nutritional lifestyle. What, Mom, why don't you want to eat ice cream with us? Oh, it doesn't match my nutritional lifestyle. Sorry, guys. So with that in mind, one of the offers that you want to have in your upsells, I actually recommend this as the very first upsell. So I'll talk about the bumps in a second. The first offer is your challenge. That's designed to give them what they want right now, some immediate gratification, get them some really quick results. You're not going to solve all their problems, but just one of their problems really quickly. And the first upsell is going to be something that gets them coming back every single solitary month, a continuity program, a membership program where they're paying like 25, 27, 37, something like that per month. And typically what you'll see there is people will stay around 4 to 5 months on average. So if you get one buyer coming through and you cover their cost per purchase just on that initial challenge, then the order bump 1, order bump 2 is all profit. Order bump 3 with the upsell number 1 with the membership, not only is that profit, but that's also now creating recurring income, and it's adding to the lifetime value of that customer. And then you've got upsell 2 and upsell 3 that are going to also add to that average cart value. But that's a really great way of solving both problems for people and getting both results for people. You give them that instant gratification with the initial challenge, and then you get them the lifetime results, the lifelong results. You create that lifelong relationship using that continuity or membership program as one of those upsells. Now, the order bumps, those are tied to that first offer. So you've got that first offer as the challenge, and when they're going through that order form and they're putting in that credit card, that's when they're seeing those 2 order bumps. So you've got to make sure that it's congruent with the challenge, that it is something that can support them in executing that challenge. So for example, maybe your challenge is more positioned around the fitness side, and so the order bumps are more around the nutrition side. That way they get the best of both worlds. Maybe your challenge is going to help them start tracking their macros. I don't know. Then the order bump could potentially be just sample meal plans or a recipe book. And that would be very congruent. So order bumps tend to be really quick, downloadable, simple things. Usually it's like one video training or an ebook, or you could technically also do strategy sessions for an order bump if you're okay with doing calls, and then you could sell them into a higher ticket program. So that's another option, but they're really only meant to be like 12, 17, 27, $37 max on those order bumps. So, and you don't get a lot of space on that copy to be able to describe what the offer is. I mean, they're really small sections of copy. So if it's this huge, big program, you're not going to be able to do it justice in that copy. It's meant to be something smaller, something much smaller. And then the last 2 upsells. So we talked about the first offer as a challenge. Order bump 1 and 2 are like downloadables, 1 video, a strategy session. Upsell number 1 is typically membership or continuity. The last 2 upsells, I mean, you could have a field day with those things. You could do whatever you want at that point. I mean, you've already gotten someone who's bought like 4 things at that point. So they'll just buy whatever you put up there. But it kind of depends upon what your model is. You know, different people have different desires for their business model. Some people, they don't mind being on the phone and they want to drive really qualified people onto the phone so that they can sell higher ticket offers. Other people, like my client who I was talking about with the 28-day pregnancy challenge, you could not get her on the phone. No. She does not want that type of model. She wants to be able to just record live streams in her Facebook group. We've got her like a 200,000 person buyer Facebook group at this point, and all she wants to do is just hang out in that Facebook group and talk to her members all day, and that's that. She wants people who are just going to buy downloadables and then go off and execute on their own. So her upsells are just downloadables, more courses, other challenges, that type of thing.
Wow. That was very detailed. Thank you.
Sure.
Because that was running through my head, like order bump versus an upsell. That made a lot of sense to me, the difference between those 2 and kind of how they can work.
Sure.
And this is where, so for, one of the things we hear within our coaching community is a lot of this sort of imposter syndrome and people afraid to charge what they're worth for their actual kind of high ticket in-person kind of coaching relationship. And so we do talk about the ability to offer some smaller ticket items for 2 reasons. A, to, first of all, to help accommodate the demographic that can't afford you, right? Mm-hmm. The demographic that you still want to be able to help, but can't afford your high ticket item. It's a way to still serve those people. But this also creates, in my humble opinion, the ability to sort of build this, and I hate this term, but this, I think you probably know where I'm going to go, but like this like a stable income stream that's just sort of coming in. And now you've got this baseline income from these smaller tickets that are happening, and you're able to use a lot of that content as part of your larger ticket item. And then you can focus really your time on those that are really going to be able to invest in themselves and do kind of like a one-on-one coaching program. So I can see multiple applications for this process.
Absolutely. And the other thing that health and fitness people need to think about too is pre-COVID and potentially even once this all blows over, there is competition in in-person options with gyms, and a lot of the gym memberships are relatively inexpensive. So that's what you're competing with. And it creates this interesting dilemma where it's, okay, do you compete with them and keep their prices in mind and then just make your options similarly affordable, but don't give as much of yourself? Meaning you make your options downloadable, you make your options evergreen and available without actually getting access to you. So yeah, you can give it for $27 a month or $100 a month or something like that, but they don't get to actually talk to you. You're not the one that's writing out their periodization plans and all of that. Or do you make yourself stand out in a completely different way where you give such a high-end experience, you can't possibly get something like that from a gym or any of those other alternatives. And neither option is wrong. There's nothing wrong with either of those paths. It's just that different people are going to resonate with different paths. I have had many coaches who have tried to force their path and their model on me, and I am a strong woman. I am going to do what I want to do. And if I fail and I trip, you know what? That's on me. I will accept responsibility and I will learn from it, but it's got to feel good. I spent too much of my life not feeling good about what I was doing, about the life that I was living, and I will not waste another day feeling that way. So I'm going to pick the business model that makes sense for me, and I'm going to recommend that to everyone else who comes my way. There's no right or wrong in business. Look at all of these multi-million, billion-dollar businesses that exist in the world. None of them are using the same model. They're not. There's no one right model to scalability and sustainability and success in business. But there is a model that is going to be either right or wrong for you. If you are not okay with having to be on the phone, if you are not okay with having to build a sales team, if that's not going to feel good for you, if you're not going to want to be so intensely available for your clients to create that sort of high-end experience that is going to make them feel like their money is being valued, then maybe high-end isn't right for you. But on the flip side, if not being able to talk to your clients is going to make you anxious because you're more of an extrovert, or you're going to hate having to create content, you'd rather just talk to people, then maybe the low ticket, mid ticket, downloadable, low level access type of model is not going to be a fit for you. You've got to decide what it is that you want. And then once you know your model, from there, figuring out the pricing is pretty easy.
I love that you shared that, because I was having some cognitive dissonance. Like, as much as I'm absorbing the sales funnel stuff, and I think it's so wild and interesting, and it's like, yeah, and I've purchased things through sales funnels. I've purchased order bumps. I've purchased upsells. I've been in the sales funnel from the consumer side, and I liked it. From a coaching side, I don't have an appetite for a 5-day challenge. I don't have an appetite for a $27 put on your credit card and forget it. I do not have an appetite for a membership program. I want to work with my clients individually and then graduate them from my care. Mm-hmm. That's the business model that makes sense to me. And so upsells, bumps, it's like, I got one program. I got one in-person high ticket program, and that's the only thing I really want to do. So I love that you said that. Now, if you were coaching somebody like me, who's like, I don't want to do that, what is the option for somebody like me? Like, if I'm not going to have, like, do I still have a sales funnel, and what does that look like, and how is that different? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
where do order bumps of ourselves come into play there?
So for someone like you, it's actually very interesting. We've used our funnel sales calculators. Remember I said that we created these calculators, you just kind of put in your ad spend and it pumps out the KPIs. We used that. We did a neat little experiment with that recently, where we created calculators for every single solitary type of funnel that exists. Put in, I know, the things marketers do on their days off. And we put in all of the standard pricing, the standard conversion rates, sales call show up rates, sales call conversion rates, those types of things into every single solitary type of funnel that exists. And then we put the same exact ad spend into all of them so that we could see what they each popped out and then compare how the different types of funnels performed. And when it came to high ticket sales, getting people on the phone and selling them into something like what you're describing, the two funnels that performed the best in terms of the results were ones that got them to the call faster. So it actually wasn't about, oh, let me only talk to really highly qualified people. Let me only talk to buyers. Let me put this barrier in front of them and create an application, and only like really qualified people who apply are the ones I'm going to talk to. Those did not perform as well. The ones that performed the best were the ones that led to the most volume of calls, regardless of the quality of those calls. And basically what that looked like was one of two things: either going straight from the ads into a sales page for your high ticket offer and having a button where they can click to go to a scheduling calendar and they schedule right away. You can add an application after the scheduler. So you could call it like a pre-call questionnaire, or you could call it an application, and then you can always cancel a call if you don't want to do that call. If they do the application and they don't look qualified at all, you can always cancel it later on, but don't add the barrier before the scheduler. So go straight from the ads into the sales page, and the sales page describes your high ticket offer. Have the button go to the scheduler. So that's option number one. Very direct. It's a very, very direct approach. The other option is a little bit more traditional. You go from the ads to a free gift, something quick, something downloadable, not a webinar. Because with a webinar, you add another barrier. They have to watch that webinar before they actually see the offer. And those barriers trickle down into the later numbers and ultimately decrease the volume of the calls, which therefore decreases the overall revenue that you generate in the funnel. So something quick like a PDF, an ebook, a swipe file, I don't know, something like that. Go from the ads into that free gift, get their name and email address. Then on the thank you page, you send them to the sales page for the high ticket offer, and there's a button and they go to the scheduler. So those two funnels performed the best just because they were the most direct into the high ticket offer. So you will get more calls and you will probably have to build a sales team. But for someone like you, you're probably anticipating having to do that anyway, so that would suit you better.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. It's so interesting that you kind of threw back some beliefs that we had. I mean, in terms of like, it's about the quantity of calls. Don't worry about the quality so much. And this is what the data shows, which is interesting because when I go through that funnel that you created, the ad to the sales page to the scheduling tool, that is what I do, but I have a full qualification sequence in the middle there that probably
yeah, you're probably killing your numbers with that.
The other thing that you said, maybe, I mean, I struggle with it because it's like, I really do predominantly want to work with qualified clients, but I've never tried opening it up to the whole world and seeing. The other thing that you mentioned that I would love to get some deeper insight on, that you described the webinar as a barrier because it's a thing we have to watch. And that's exactly how I feel about them. I'm sorry, but like when Again, I always go back to my experience as a consumer. I just signed up for a course. Honestly, this is so dorky, so please bear with me. But I was served up an ad for a course learning about equine insulin resistance. So
talk about niche.
Horse diabetes. And I'm like, I need to learn about that. So
my
I'm like,
God.
I got my number. I got my number. Are you kidding me? I am a former pre-diabetic myself, and I have horses. It's like, how did they find me? I'm perfectly qualified, anyways. Like, but literally, I thought, okay, this is a course, I want to take it. I want to get certified in this. But first, I had to watch this webinar. And guess what I didn't do? Watch the webinar. Don't have time for that. Then I get the follow-up email sequence. Oh, you missed the webinar. Here's the replay. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to watch it. I just want the thing. And now I'm kind of unsubscribed from the whole thing. It's like, I wish I'd just gotten the thing that I wanted. So I agree. And I love that you said that. But we talk to a lot of business coaches on this podcast, and a lot of them are pushing the webinar.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on there? Like, why is it a good idea in some folks' mind? Why are you generally opposed to webinars, or just in certain situations, or like, what's the deal with webinars? Why?
Yeah, there's this really interesting place that the webinars fit in marketing. And it's really just for this one little place. It's just this one little situation where you have a mid-ticket offer between $1,000 and $2,000. If you have an offer between $1,000 and $2,000, if you look at the data, you've got, all right, hold on. Let's back up. If you had an offer between $1,000 and $2,000, and you sold that offer in the earlier funnel that I described, like a direct sales funnel where you're going to ads into the offer, or even a tripwire where you go from the ad to a free gift, and then on the thank you page you try to sell it. You're not going to make as much money off of it as you would a webinar, just because $1,000 to $2,000 is this really weird range where people do require some level of trust to be willing to buy. They're not going to do as much of an impulse purchase. I mean, that's really what that $27, $37 pricing is. It's a little bit more of an impulse purchase. There's not as much of a barrier with trust. They don't need to know, like, and trust you as much for a $27 purchase than they do for $1,000 to $2,000. But on the flip side, no one wants to get on a phone call and talk to someone, or be on the other side and get on the phone and have to sell someone for $1,000. You know, if I'm getting someone on the phone, I'm going to be selling them into my actual high ticket offers, not $1,000 to $2,000, right? So that's the situation when webinars make the most sense. They don't fit into the low ticket type of funnels. They don't fit into the high ticket type of funnels. They're best for mid-range pricing. Now, the problem that a lot of people have with the challenge that webinars present is there's so many ways to do them, and there's so many gurus out there who are touting their way because they've seen success with it, but maybe they haven't tested all of the other ways, or maybe they're overinflating their results, to be honest. I don't know. But we have tested it. And the people who tell you to do your webinars every hour on the hour, where it's like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whatever, that is not the best way to do it. The people who tell you to do it on a specific day and time, that is definitely not the right way to do it. The people who tell you to do them live over and over and over and over and over again, that is definitely not the right way to do it. That's exhausting, but also it bleeds into the numbers, because what will happen is after someone opts in for the webinar, the longer it takes for the webinar to happen, the lower your show up rate will be. So actually the best way to do a webinar is to make it instant access, or at least if you are going to do every hour on the hour or a set day and time, at least have yesterday's replay available. Some way for them to watch it right now. You'll find you'll get like 50% higher show up rates. It's quite absurd. When you do those every hour on the hour or live, or it's once a week, you'll only get 20-30% of people showing up. But when you make it instantly available, you get 70 to 90% of those people actually watching the webinar. And that is a significant difference that bleeds into all of the later numbers, and you make significantly more money doing it that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Instant access. I'm the same way. If I see something that I'm interested in, clearly I have the time now because I'm farting around on my phone, or I'm farting, and I might as well just, jump in and watch it versus having to wait and like for an actual time to watch it. So yeah, you might get more qualified people to actually watch it because they actually go watch it, but actually that's not true. So you end up with fewer people overall because you have, I think, one of the things I've learned, I've been in sales for 20 some odd years. I act as the admissions director here too. You'd be surprised who initially sounds relatively unqualified that after a great conversation is perfect.
Absolutely. This happens with sales calls too. And this is one of the other reasons why I'm a big proponent of volume over perceived quality, and why I do not do applications before my sales calls, because I have had so many people who have gotten on the phone and in their pre-call questionnaire, I call it that because it's after they schedule, not before, it's not an application, they'll say they have no money, or they have no resources to invest right now, or they're just looking, or something like that. And then I'll get them on the phone, and after I talk to them, it's a completely different story, or it wasn't the full picture. And the truth is, sometimes people will do that because they're selling themselves short, or they're trying to give themselves an out. If I don't end up liking this conversation, if I don't end up liking the direction that it's going in, oh, well, I told them I didn't have the money, right? They're trying to give themselves an out. And that's your job as a sales professional, is to see through that and to find a way to make it work. So if you have applications in advance of your calls, that probably says something about your level of confidence in your own sales.
That's true.
Man, that's a wild reframe.
So I have a question, like from way back when you first told your initial story. You were telling us about your first business and your second business. You started your first business at 21. That didn't go so well, but then started your second business and it went phenomenally well. So I would love to know, first of all, what that first business was and why you think it didn't go well, and what you might have changed or did differently to make the second one go gangbusters.
Great question.
Give us the inside scoop.
Yeah. So, oh my God. Oh, my first business was a publishing company for fraternities and sororities. Very odd, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that. And here's the thing. I didn't really have a conversion model in my business. I didn't really know how I was going to make money or what I was even really selling. And I knew how to build traffic. I knew how to make myself known. I knew how to get visible in the business. So I did build a mailing list. I built a really great presence. I was able to go and speak at universities all across America. But once I actually got that traffic, I didn't know how to then get them to buy. I didn't have funnels figured out yet. I had the traffic side. I had organic traffic figured out. I didn't have paid traffic figured out. So in my second business, that was a virtual assistant agency, because in building that first business, I learned a lot about CRMs, and actually Infusionsoft was the very first CRM I ever worked with, which is apparently... Oh, wow. Yeah, I know. Apparently that's super weird. I didn't know the difference. That was just the first one I learned. And I learned all about WordPress and blogging and social media. And I learned just the technical side of how to do marketing. And so I said, you know what, why don't I just go and do this for other people? And I'll be like a VA. And when I started that business, I said, Amanda, You know how to build buzz. You know how to get traffic. You know how to make yourself visible. You need to focus on the conversion side. And so that's when I actually started working very intentionally and consciously on my sales conversations. And so I would take all of that traffic, get people onto the phone, and then sell them on the phone. And I did telemarketing in college. Actually, when I was at Johns Hopkins, I was the number 2 caller on the campus. And that was with the hardest call pools. The person who was number 1 had the easiest call pools. Like, you know, disclaimer. Anywho, so yeah, that was really the difference. Was I very intentionally focused on the conversion. And what I realized after that second business was, oh, you need both. Oh, okay. You need traffic and conversion to make money. You need to know how to get people to look at your offers, and then you need to know how to get people to buy them. Ooh, all right. This makes sense now. So that's why I always tell people traffic plus offers equals dollars, or have a traffic system, have a conversion system. That's how you have a money-making system.
Great. Wow. You know, I come from a marketing background, and I hesitate to say that because I worked in marketing for my whole career before I leapt into health coaching. But I started my marketing career in 1997. So like, I know nothing. Let's be realistic. I know nothing.
Girl, you look good.
I know, right? But like, even in the later years of my marketing career, this would be going back, I guess, 5 years ago, before I kind of pulled the pin and left. It was changing so rapidly that you just couldn't keep up. You just couldn't keep up. So how do you keep up? Like, what generates traffic today might not generate traffic in a month, and what converts today might not convert. Like, how on earth does a layperson keep up, or an old person keep up, or how do you keep up?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question, because I was at my dentist office yesterday, and the social media manager at the dentist office came in, and I was just chatting with her, and I said, I'm happy to do like a video case study. You can follow my whole journey. I do this for a living. Just bring up your iPad. I'll interview me. And so she did. And then just in talking, we found that she's going to school for marketing. And she was saying that it's really challenging right now because the professor will come in every single week and say, okay, forget what I taught you last week. That's not working anymore. I got to tell you the new trend that's actually working now. And when I left the dentist office, I was talking to my husband, and I told him this, and my husband said, isn't that a bad way to teach, though, to only teach trends? Because it is going to change so often. And I said, yeah, I don't think that I would do that. I would probably, mention the trends, because that's great. You can obviously monopolize on those trends, but there are concepts that withstand any trend whatsoever. When I say a funnel that follows best practices, those best practices are not going to change based on trends. The idea that one offer at a time, no distracting offers, that idea is not going to change no matter what the trend is. So I'm always going to still want to send traffic to an offer. That's never going to change. And I'm always going to want to have the most congruent traffic for the most congruent offer. That's never going to change. I'm always going to want to have a call to action in the process of sending that traffic to the offer. I'm always going to want to have urgency. I'm always going to want to have it just be one offer rather than multiple offers. Those are concepts that withstand trends. And that's what's important to learn in your marketing.
Boom. Love it. The foundational pieces that really stand the test of time.
Exactly.
I think that's a good pep talk, because I think going back to what Laura started this conversation with, and what we hear all the time, is that people are overwhelmed by marketing because it is this really nebulous, ever-changing thing. But it has foundational elements. And so perhaps the opportunity for the newbie entrepreneur is just get real comfortable with the foundational elements, and, just kind of put your attention there for a while. So thank you very much for clarifying that. And I just want to name drop one of my favorite old school marketing guys, which is Seth Godin, who I've been reading since the 90s.
Yes.
And it's like, listen to what Seth says, because he hasn't fallen prey to the trends. He's still blogging every day, and he's still got his real even-keeled sort of foundational rock sort of marketing guru, vibe.
WWSD. What would Seth do? You know?
Oh, cute.
But the other thing you said that, God, we try to drive home all the time. Pick one offer. One offer and focus on that offer and sell the shit out of that offer. Excuse my language, but I mean, kill it first before you go to move on to something else. I know that I am guilty of the squirrel complex. Like, just as I get down one rabbit hole, squirrel, I notice something else that catches my attention, and wouldn't this be cool? One thing at a time.
Oh, God. Yeah, actually, I fell victim to this, like, so big, so hard, because I love creating. Man, I have probably 100 different courses outlined, and I haven't made them all, and it bothers me. It really does. And so our business, originally me and my business partner, Jody, we used to offer a lot of done-for-you services, and that's why I used to call myself a VA. And one of the most transformational things we did in our business is we let go of offers and just decided to focus on being a traffic generation agency. We will manage your traffic, we'll manage your ads, manage your PR. That is it. And part of that obviously is we're not going to manage your traffic if you don't have a conversion platform. So obviously we can build funnels too, but that's more of like a stepping stone into what we really do, which is managing traffic. And ever since we made that commitment and we decided to have that focus, our business has just skyrocketed. And not just in terms of the money that we're making, but also in terms of the results that we're getting for our clients, because we are capable of focusing so intently on just this one thing. We're able to really give it our all for our clients, and we're able to create so many more operating procedures and resources around that one thing. So it's skyrocketed our financial success, it skyrocketed our client satisfaction, and it just made everything so much easier to operate the business on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. See, that really lands for us, because the way I interpreted that was what we see a lot of coaches do who are so eager to be successful in this realm. And by successful, they mean, like you said, financially I want to be comfortable, and I really want to help a lot of people. So they're really focused on scaling and growing, and this offer and that offer and the big offer and the small offer. And I've worked with a coach recently. I had a conversation who had a 4-week program, an 8-week program, a 12-week program, a 16-week program.
Oh boy.
It was like, dude. But what sometimes gets lost is being able to do good work, being able to focus your energy to do good work and be a transformational coach and have a product that delights the customers, and being masterful at what you do. And in some ways that sells itself. And then you don't have to kind of run yourself off your feet making 25 different programs that may not actually help anybody.
Absolutely. And this goes into how to execute what we've talked about in terms of the funnels. We essentially talked about 3 different funnels, right? If you want to sell more in the low ticket, you've got that direct funnel going from Facebook ads into the challenge. And then you've got those order bumps and the upsells. And that's really just designed as a way to help increase the average cart value. So with that type of model, you do need multiple offers, but the one that you're selling, the one that you're focused on sending traffic to, is just that first one. The funnel does the job of selling the rest. The one you're selling is that very first one. So there's still that focus. We talked about the webinar, the instant access webinar, and we talked about the sales call funnel and how you can send ads either into a free gift and then the sales page, or actually just send ads directly into the sales page for higher ticket offers to phone calls. We talked about 3 different options. So pick one. Don't go and try to create all 3. You will tend to know in your gut which one is going to feel the best for you. Erin you heard the first one and you were like, ooh, I don't know about that. And then we talked about the sales call one, and that one obviously felt better for you. You could see it in your face, you could hear it in your voice, right? And that's generally how it's going to be. You're going to hear how I described those 3 funnels, and you're going to be able to feel it, which one is going to align with you, your personality. And the truth is, if you pick a funnel, if you pick a business model, if you pick an offer that doesn't align with you, guess what? You're probably not going to put the best amount of energy into it. And that's going to show up in the results. If you are trying to sell something that you're not going to enjoy, that you're not going to love, if you're trying to build a business that you're not crazy about, it will show up in the results.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And case in point, that's why you have to have that figured out first, my friends, right? So I just imagine for a second, we do have some listeners here that really aren't, they may not have even taken a course yet. They're just sort of coaching curious. But then we've got a lot of people that are just in a course, they're just learning, or maybe they've just graduated and they're starting a business. In the program that Erin and I represent, and I'm starting to see more and more programs talk about this, but we are adamant that you have to know who you are, who you serve, what problem you solve, because if you can't solve a problem, you don't have a business, and you have to be able to articulate how you solve it. You have to have all 4 of those things figured out. And you know what? Don't even try to build a program until you have that figured out. You don't figure out an opt-in until you know what kind of opt-in is going to be attractive to these you have to take this step by step. So coaches that are listening that are like, holy cow, like what? I got to have maybe I shouldn't be a health coach. No. What we're talking about are things that are farther down the line after you've built the foundation of who you are, who you serve, what problem you solve, how you solve it. Get out there and actually talk to people that fit that. Actually do some good and coach some people and get your program really figured out. Then you can then say, I love this high ticket item. I want to be more like Erin and I want to go down that road. Or, maybe like the Keto Gains guys do a fantastic job. They run these huge boot camps with large groups of people. They are doing so much good and they make a lot of money doing it. That approach is going to be very different, but you got to kind of figure all this stuff out. And by the way, it's not going to happen in 3 months. Sorry. Okay? You've got it. This is going to take you, I don't know. Here's kind of my thought. Look, your first year is all about figuring this shit out, right? Your first year is about laying the foundation about all this stuff. I promise you will make some money your first year because you're doing good for people and people are going to want to pay you for the time you're spending. You're going to do this, but it's unlikely that you're really going to be crushing it and pulling in a full-time income, having never started in this business before. Then your second year, and your story leads a little bit to this. You figured out all the stuff you did wrong, all the stuff that doesn't work. You kind of figure all that out your first year. And now you're like, okay, this works. I'm going to run with this. And you're going to become more efficient. You're going to become more effective. You're going to have more clarity. You're going to have a better story. You're going to have success stories. Now you're going to be making even more money in your second year. And now all this click funnel stuff, the sales funnels, all of this stuff makes a lot more sense. And there's a whole lot of clarity here. So I just want people to keep in mind that you don't have to have all this figured out to get started. It's all this stuff that's going to take you from, wow, you know what? I'm kind of as busy as I want to be doing this part-time with my friends and family and referrals. Now I'm really ready to leave my real gig and really do this full-time. Now I'm serious and I've got some money to invest in it. Because by the way, hopefully you charge some people and people paid you for your time. And you can set all this stuff up, and that's when this becomes full-time. How'd I do? That's kind of my little evolutionary story there.
I love it because actually our homework before we ever map out a funnel for someone is their niche and their signature system, which is basically exactly what you just said. Who do you serve? How do you help them? Like, what is their point A? What's their point B? What's the path that you take them in between? Because your funnel has to be very, very congruent with solving that problem and taking them down that path. Congruency is huge when it comes to conversion. This is something that we'll see in sales funnel data, actually. If you have a free gift that goes into a paid offer that is a little congruent, it sort of makes sense, but not And then it's like, that's what I have available, so let me just throw that up there type of thing. That's going to be very different in terms of the conversion and the ultimate financial results of that funnel than you taking the time to really evaluate, okay, what is this person's problem and what is the path I need to take them down to solve that problem? And the free gift is the first step and the paid offer is the second step. And it's very, very congruent. You're going to see the difference in the numbers. So the more clarity that you have around your niche, the problem you solve, the path you take them down, the better your funnels are going to convert and the better your traffic is going to convert as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Say it louder. Because the question we get asked the most often is verbatim, how do I find clients? It's okay, what problem do you solve and for whom? And they're like, well, I don't really know yet. It's like, well, okay, come back and ask me that question again when you have those like, so truly, when we teach it in our course, it's not just to be coy or just to kill time. It's like, no, you're going to have to start with this. So
it's foundational.
Foundational. Absolutely. We are getting close to the end of our time, but I have one like really specific question for you.
Sure.
For anybody else who's listening and who's kind of like funnel curious, because I am funnel curious. I mean, I know I kind of balked at it a little bit, but I'm funnel curious. But you mentioned ClickFunnels as a tool. Is that your preferred tool for funnels?
I do really like ClickFunnels. Yes, I've tried just about every funnel software you can possibly imagine. And so far, and this is not to say that I would not entertain other options, because at the end of the day, it's about what works for the specific type of funnel that I'm trying to create. But yeah, I mean, of all of the funnel softwares that I've created, it is the one that allows for the most functionality in terms of what I'm looking for, and for the most stats tracking, which I'm really, really big on. Most funnel softwares, they don't allow things like one-click upsells. They don't allow order bumps. They don't track as much as I would like, or they have a lot of pixel problems. Like there's a new software that's come out, Groove Pages. Oh my God, do not buy it. It is an absolute nightmare when it comes to adding pixels onto the page and actually being able to track from Facebook. And that will mess up your Facebook ad stats for sure if your funnel software doesn't allow for that. Other like webinar softwares, a lot of times once you get enough traffic, those will break. And you'll end up just having to move to ClickFunnels anyway to be able to support the amount of traffic that comes through. And again, they have pixel tracking problems. So from the perspective of stats, pixels, and functionality, I definitely am currently preferring ClickFunnels. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other ones that you'd recommend? Like, what are like the other two in your top three?
Well, I don't really have a top 2 or 3 at all right now, because I don't think any of the other ones compare. Like we've tried Optimized Press, we've tried Lead Pages, Stealth Seminar, EverWebinar, Groove Pages.
I don't even want to see their name.
I know. Yeah, but none of them really compare to ClickFunnels for sure. On the CRM side, however, there's a lot of options. When it comes to the CRM side, like the actual the email follow-up sequences, you can get away with quite a lot. You don't necessarily need Infusionsoft. That's my favorite one. ConvertKit is fine. Entreport, ActiveCampaign. Those are all, and any other ones that are similar to the ones that I just named, those are all fine. It's the funnel side that's really, really critical. It has to have the right stats tracking. It has to have no problems whatsoever with pixels, and it has to have the functionality of one-click upsells and order bumps. It has to.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for going on the record and just being like, nope, I'm sticking.
Of course.
Yeah, no, because I mean, look, we got enough stuff that we're trying to keep track of and figure out. I mean, I just moved to a new place and I'm like, I want recommendations for our, event or a hairstyle, whatever, rather than trying a bunch of different things until I figure out what doesn't work. Somebody that's been as successful as you are doing this that says, I'm sorry, there just isn't a comparison.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing you have to realize too, is I'll get people who will come to us and try to negate what we're saying because of like this one little situation that they had, or this like one campaign that they sent that shows that a different software is better, or a different type of funnel is better, or a different ads strategy is better. And I'm like, okay, but are you managing as much ad spend as I am? Are you looking at as much funnel data as I am? Because I have the luxury as an agency of not just looking at my own data. Mm-hmm. I also have the luxury of being able to manage like more ad spend than you can possibly imagine. And that means I'm looking at more data than you can possibly imagine. So mm-hmm. I get to learn so much more, so much faster about what really works and what works at scale.
Okay.
So what other people might see at smaller levels, sure, or maybe on that in that one specific case works for them. But as you scale, different things are going to happen. You're going to experience different things. And I've already been there. I've already seen it. So you might as well go on the right platform to begin with. You might as well start with the right strategy to begin with right now.
Amen.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what your agency does for health coaches. Like, how does somebody find you, follow what you're doing, and what is it that you do specifically for health coaches?
So like we talked about earlier, I started off years ago doing just about everything. 2 years ago, we evaluated our data. We looked at where are we getting the most results for our clients? What's the most transformational? And for us, it was managing Facebook ads. There's really no comparison when it comes to other ways to make money in the online world specifically. And for health and fitness coaches, that is our specialty because we're health and fitness nuts. I love me some periodizations. I love me some strength training. My husband is a tennis coach. He actually works with some of the biggest names in the tennis industry. If you're into tennis, we can chat about that. But anyway, so we looked at how our data was comparing across all the different services. And as much as we love PR, because that is a service that we still offer, just purely because we love it and it's great for helping people build authority, it doesn't drive as much traffic as ads do. Social media marketing, like organic social media, is very unpredictable, much harder to track, a lot more manual work, and it's not as fast, it's not as scalable, it's not as sustainable. There's no other traffic source that works the way that Facebook ads do. You can delegate it. You can scale it up when it's working. You can scale it down when it's not. You can pause it when you have too much work. We've had clients that are like, oh my God, turn the ads off. I just got 500 sales and I can't handle it. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. You can see exactly what's working. You can see exactly what's not. It is the most powerful form of traffic that exists, especially when you want to create a sustainable and scalable business online. And I'm an empire builder. That's what I think most of us are. We want to help as many people as possible, make as much money as possible in the process. So what we do, plain and simple, is we manage your traffic generation. If you're not ready for traffic, we'll build you a funnel, but the idea will be we're going to build this funnel so that we can send traffic to it, because a funnel doesn't work without traffic and a traffic doesn't work without funnel. You need both. So that's what we do for health and fitness coaches. If you are a health and fitness professional, whether you're new and you need a funnel or you have a funnel and you need traffic, we will manage your traffic and your funnels for you so that you can create a sustainable and scalable business.
Awesome. So where do they find you? How do they contact you?
Go on to reachwarrior.com.
Nice. Reach Warrior. Now we know the meaning behind that little warrior there.
The warrior, yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Awesome. Amanda, this was so great because I don't know jack about any of this stuff, and I've learned it.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, this is something I'm going to have to learn because I left my brick and mortar business back in Illinois, moving everything here, and it needs to get up online. So
congrats. That's exciting.
And I'm not there yet. I'm still working towards it. I'm still moving in, but But, I'm looking forward to following you and maybe hitting you up when I'm ready to rock. So thank you.
Sounds good. Actually, if you go to reachwarrior.com, Erin, you'll get to see that exact funnel that I was talking about. The one where you go straight from ads into the sales page, and it has it describes the offer and then has the button that goes over to the scheduler. Reachwarrior.com is that exact funnel. So we do what we teach.
Right. Practice what you preach. Awesome.
Yeah. No webinar though, right?
No, there is a video at the top that describes our signature process, but it is ungated. There's no opt-in, and you can completely ignore it if you don't want to watch it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.